The thing is with civilization, it's all a matter of perspective. Some of us will live our entire lives without ever leaving our hometowns, whilst others will roam the planet moving from country to country in an effort to endlessly experience the cultural wonders of countless societies. While civilization as a whole has gradually expanded over time, seemingly making our planet smaller and smaller to those that experience it, some tribal pockets of humanity have remained wholly untouched by the rest of the world, frozen in time as a monument to a point where society had only just begun. Well, let's take a look at them, shall we? Hello horror fans, what's going on, and once again welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, top 5 scary videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host Jack Finch, as today we curiously take a look at the top 5 scary uncontacted tribes that still exist. Roll the clip. For the curious amongst you, that scene was from the incredible 2006 historical epic Apocalypto, which for those of you that haven't seen it, it's a fantastic depiction of an ancient Mayan civilization and definitely worth a watch. Now it's important to state in this list that obviously those uncontacted peoples have been contacted in the sense that they, or evidence of them, has at least been witnessed by the rest of civilization, because obviously if they were completely uncontacted then, well, we wouldn't know that they were there, would we? Kicking off at number 5, the PINTUPI 9. Australia is old, like really old, and the Aboriginal people that are native to that land have existed on the Pacific continent for more than 50,000 years. It wasn't until the late 1700s that the rest of the Western world decided to populate the place, and their entire way of life was threatened. But whilst Australia is definitely an ancient place, it's also an incredibly large place, as in 7.6 million square kilometers, the vast majority of which is vastly unpopulated. While one of those traditional hunter-gatherer tribes were known as the PINTUPI people, whose nomadic way of life had led them to be completely unaware of the fact that Australia had been colonised some 200 years before, and they remained largely uncontacted by Western society up until the 1960s. Well, all of them except for 9, otherwise known as the PINTUPI 9, or more ominously, the Lost Tribe. It's believed that the PINTUPI 9 fled into the desert after being left behind by the rest of their tribe, when many of them travelled into Australian missions near Alice Springs. The group, who'd roamed the desert for over 2 decades using the exact same techniques that had allowed them to thrive in the bush for tens of thousands of years, one day followed a trail of smoke which unwittingly led them to their own, now westernized Aboriginal people. Turned out that the PINTUPI 9 was still pretty terrifying though, and their fellow tribesmen felt so threatened by their visage that he felt compelled to fire a warning shot at them, which of course terrified them even more, and they fled back into the desert. Don't worry though, there was a happy ending, and the PINTUPI 9 were eventually reunited with their people. Coming in next at number 4, the KOROWAI tribe. The KOROWAI, also commonly referred to as the Kalufo, are an indigenous people who live in the deep isolated forests of the Indonesian province of Papua, close to the border of Papua New Guinea. They remained completely uncontacted by the outside world up until the 1970s, where seemingly they had existed for thousands of years, unaware of the rest of the planet. In 1974, after they were discovered by Dutch anthropologists and a simple co-language was created, the KOROWAI people claimed that they were completely unaware that any other people existed other than themselves. Although being a widely welcoming people to outsiders, it is also believed that the KOROWAI people practice ritualistic cannibalism, albeit to a lesser degree in the present day, and some smaller isolated pockets of the KOROWAI people use their cannibalistic beliefs as a means to war against the rest of their tribesfolk. In fact, it is widely believed rumor that the son of the famous Rockefeller dynasty, Michael Rockefeller, met the fate of some of these KOROWAI cannibals after he disappeared mysteriously in 1961 while collecting artifacts from another Papuan tribe. Ominously, his body was never found. Swinging in at number 3, the Old Believers. Picture this, it's 1978, Soviet geologists were looking inward for resources in their incredibly vast country, and whilst out searching for iron ore deposits by helicopter in the remote unexplored woods of Siberia, they discovered a small wooden cabin with a billowing chimney and several people standing outside, frozen in terror. The thing is, that cabin shouldn't have been there because, well, nothing should have been there. It's Siberia, and Soviet Russia made a pretty good job of keeping tabs on their people, to say the least. Well, turned out that the people living there, a family known as the Lykovs, were the descendants of a group known as the Old Believers that had fled Stalinist Russia in the 1930s after an ancient religious feud. Turns out that feud, a schism of the Church of Russian Orthodoxy, had been going on since the 17th century, and it's believed that dozens more of these families still exist today out in the Siberian wilderness. When the Lykovs were discovered, their lifestyle was described as being something halfway between Peter the Great and the Stone Age. They were dressed in rough burlap, they lived off pine nuts and potatoes, and they drank out of birch bark vessels. When the Lycars were first discovered, they were reported to have screamed, "This is for our sins, our sins." A woman named Agathia, the last surviving member of the Lycar family, still lives out in the wilderness today, refusing to speak to the rest of civilization. Next up at our number 2 spot, the Sentinelese tribe. And while in actual fact that's a bit of a reaching title, because whilst the Sentinelese tribe is the name given to them by the rest of the world, their actual name is completely unknown because no one has ever gotten close enough to ask them. These people make their home on North Sentinel Island off the coast of India and have only ever been observed at a distance via helicopter. They are considered to be one of the world's last uncontacted peoples, and in 1956 the government of India declared that the North Sentinel Island is forever off limits to the rest of the world. Why? Well, because the people of North Sentinel Island are incredibly hostile to outsiders and have maintained a campaign of aggression for seemingly the entire duration of history. The first recorded entry of their existence was in 1771, when a trading ship saw flickering lights in the distance and just thought, nope, no thank you. Well, they were the smart ones, because for the next 200 odd years, countless ships and sailors who ran into the Sentinelese were often met with a grisly and fatal fate. In 1981, a cargo ship known as the Primrose washed ashore on North Sentinel Island, but after the crew were finally rescued by the Indian Navy, the Sentinelese scoured the abandoned shipwreck to salvage iron for their weaponry. For the most part now, the Indian government goes to great lengths to protecting the isolation of North Sentinel Island, in fear that global intervention will spur on the ruin of one of humanity's last uncontacted societies. And finally, our number 1 spot, the man of the hole. And this point for me is the most insane display of human isolation, because right now there is a man living in complete and utter separation from civilization out in the vast, deep Amazonian rainforests of Brazil. And the most terrifying thing is that he didn't choose to. He's commonly been referred to as the man of the hole, the last of his tribe, or the loneliest man on earth. But in all actuality, no one knows his name, the language that he speaks, or the tribe that he once belonged to. It's believed that he's the sole survivor of a genocide committed by ranchers and loggers in the 1980s and 1990s, and since then has been fervently avoiding outsiders for his own survival. He gets his namesake from the deep holes that he leaves behind, nomadically moving throughout the rainforest, speculation of which is determined are either means to camouflage himself from the outside world or have deep spiritual significance to his old tribe. In 2009, in a glaring reminder about the encroaching atrocities committed to indigenous people by outsiders, the man of the hole was attacked by gunmen, but incredibly he managed to survive. In the 22 years that they've been aware of him, he has never once been contacted, although in 2018 the Brazilian government released incredibly rare video footage of him in the hope of spreading global awareness of the threats that the uncontacted people of Brazil still face today. Crazy stuff. Well, there we have it, horror fans, our list for the top 5 scary uncontacted tribes that still exist. What did you make of it? Why don't you let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Before we depart though, let's take a look at some of your more resounding remarks from over the past few days. First up, Ben Higson says, "Dude, I love watching your videos. I have 2 questions for you. What genre of music do you listen to? And Apostle on Netflix reminds me of The Wicker Man. Do you agree?" And hey Ben Higson, cheers buddy, that's very very kind of you. Also great questions. First one, I try and pride myself on having an eclectic music taste, and I can jam out to anything from Queen to Wu-Tang Clan, so I hope that answers your question. Also, I actually haven't seen Apostle yet, so I'll have to check it out. Cheers for the recommendation, dude. Next up, That's Bloody Creepy says, "Yet another amazing video, Jack. I've just recently started reading Stephen King's Misery, and I was wondering what other Stephen King books or movies would you recommend?" And wow, I'm excited for you, to say the least. Misery is a bit of a plunge in at the deep end, but I like your style. Start with Salem's Lot, then Pet Sematary, then just keep going and going. He wrote a lot of books, still writing them today. I couldn't recommend the Dark Tower series enough though. That's an entire Kingian saga in itself, so happy reading, horror fan. Enjoy. Well, there we have it folks. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in today's video. So stick around all the way until the end if you're a fan of this video. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button as well as that subscribe bell, and we'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your horror host, Jack Finch. You've been watching top 5 scary videos, and until next time, you take it easy.